Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is February 11th, and welcome. If there's any item that anyone in the audience would like to speak to, please fill out a card and hand it up to staff. The cards are located at the rear of the chamber. If I can have everyone at this time, please rise for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. May I have Madam City Clerk, in her appearance. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. DiGiovanni?
Present.
Ms. Manalo?
Present.
Mr. Das Magbual?
Here.
Mr. Sylvester?
Present. Thank you so much. All right, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the last meeting on January 18th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Minutes are passed. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is communicate. Oh, I was wondering. I'm so used. I said, "Oh, did I skip?
Wow.
Did I skip consent?"
We have no consent agenda. Sorry.
I'd like to thank the city attorney, who hardly ever gets thanks, for keeping us on track. All right. Next item is communications, and we'll start with item number 1: economic and community development presentation, and that's from is it Mr. Cosmott? Sir. You want to see him? Okay. Good evening.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Ken Hira with Cosmott Companies, and it's our pleasure to present tonight an economic development strategy to you all and to the city. We've been working on some of this analysis for a couple of years now, and we've come tonight with an update based on some more recent data, and we're really trying to map a course through many of the opportunity sites in the city. The presentation is rather long, but I won't be spending time on each and every slide or going through the particular details. I want to highlight some components of the demographic profile and the market analysis and the opportunity sites that we analyze, and then certainly allow you to ask questions. So background is we've been working with the city for quite some time, since 2013, on a variety of things, including a property management plan, et cetera. And in parallel, we've been hired to help work on this economic development strategy for the city. I think there's a lot of opportunity within the city. The city's been very active. And so it's really kind of exciting to see things coming to fruition and to see what's going to happen in the future. Some of the next steps we find, and we've done this with you, we've kind of helped market some of the opportunity sites, and we're going through that process, as you know, as we speak, including some of the former redevelopment agency sites that we've helped dispose of, as well as create partnerships with the private sector. Our company's been in business for 32 years. And we are not just a study company, but we really are a hands-on economic consultant. So the outline is divided into kind of 3 main sections. The majority of the slides are heavy on the analysis, but then we get into the strategy, and then we also help with the next steps on how to implement that strategy. So again, highlighting, that's a summary. There's the city with some radii around it. I want to pause here for a second. Population within the city, based on our data, which is census driven, is about 105,500. I'm rounding. I like to point out average household sizes because it gives us a feel for the DNA of the city. If you really look at the county at 2.77 average household size, City of Daly City is a little bit bigger, so that says that there's some families that live here for sure, 3.24, and median age being around 40 years old, which is pretty consistent with the county. Average household income of $105,389. I'll quickly go through these because this is some visual data analysis that we use for incomes, which I just went over with you. And I want to pause here for a second. We often look at these days the population by age and how it breaks down. The millennial population is one of our largest population cohorts. We also look closely at millennials and Generation Z. This is the youth of our communities in California. And what we found is that the state of California is comprised of about 40% of its population with millennials and Generation Zs. These are folks between 5 and, say, 35 years old. And so this shows us that you've got about a 38% population that's comprised of that. The majority of your population composition are Generation X, which are 35 to 54-year-olds at 27%. It helps a lot in terms of the retail, the hotel, the the residential, the office, and the different product types, and as to who your demographic and age profile make up. Race and ethnicity, 21% Hispanic origin. The majority of your population are Asian and Pacific Islanders at 62%. 20% are white. Educational attainment, we'd consider this very high. At 38%, you have bachelor degrees or higher. The county, frankly, is almost half, which is a very strong education base. The state's at 34% bachelor degrees and higher. A very low vacancy in your housing stock. Home values, this creates the challenge of affordability, if you will, but your home values here in Daly City are about $1 million. And you can see the growth in the way housing values have increased. The state is at about $551,000. So we summarize some of those data points. I want to move through to show you also how strong your unemployment rate is at a 2.4% ratio. And then we gleaned from your CAFR the major employers within the city. You can see that the Seton Medical Center is significant. And frankly, you'll find in this slide that the majority of the folks that your residents, where they work, and then the folks that come into your city to work in the jobs in your city are both led by healthcare and social assistance categories. And then these are heat maps of where jobs and employment are located and residents. Where do people commute to and from? You can tell that many folks are going to San Francisco to work and other places. And I want to touch on this slide for a second. We do this often with different cities. We like to see how many folks come in to work every day and how many folks leave. So this tells us at 51,521, you have a lot of folks leaving every day, commuting. Maybe not that much of a surprise with the major job base in San Francisco and some of the other tech communities that surround your city. 15,220 come in. So, you know, we analyze that because that matters as to daytime population, job, housing ratios, et cetera. And if you look at your jobs housing ratio, it's on the lower end relative to San Mateo County. You can tell the county has a lot of folks coming into it, a lot of jobs, if you will, relative to housing. And here, I think what I look at for employment is that the way that employment can get increased is by a lot of these projects that I think you have hopefully coming online, new development. If there's new hotels, if there's new product types, they're creating a lot of jobs, which can help this ratio improve. We look at traffic counts, summarize a lot of that information, and then hotel. So this section zeroes in on the different product types, hotel and office, retail, residential. This is what's called the hotel universe, or a comp set that we analyzed to come up with this data, which is a source that is very commonly used by the hotel industry, Smith Travel Research. So what you'll see just in summary is you have a very strong average occupancy of the hotels in your city at 86% now. It's always been above 80%, or at least for the last 6 years. And then you'll see ADR, which is average daily rate, at about $187, and that's the total of all the hotels. And so this is a very healthy picture from our perspective of the hotel industry. We also show how the cyclical nature of hotels work with respect to occupancy, peaking on Wednesdays, the midweek business traveler, at 92%. And then on a supply and demand basis, there's clearly significant demand in the city of Daly City for hotel rooms. As to office and retail, Your retail vacant or office vacancy is at about 5.8%. It's pretty well below what the county's average office vacancy is, so that shows a sign of health in the office market. Asking rents are commensurate with your occupancies, which are pretty strong. And then retail. Your retail vacancy is significantly low, so that means you have a very healthy retail environment at 1.7%. And really, if you look at all the comparative cities, and I'll spend more time on those comparative cities in other sections, there's a lot of health in the retail industry within those communities. Now, just take a second to talk about retail, because it's, besides being near and dear to my heart, we have a lot of background and do a lot of analysis on retail. And today, folks are reading about retail that's dying, or the apocalypse. And it's really not dying, it's just going through a significant change. The good news for Daly City is, and by the way, the bigger the retail boxes are, it's kind of like the bigger they are, the harder they fall. They're challenged the most because folks are really looking for experience. And so frankly, the smaller the retail is, the smaller scale the retail is, so the healthier they're going to be on a sustainable basis. This picture to us paints a very sustainable picture on a go-forward basis in terms of your healthy low retail vacancy. Rents are commensurate, retail. And here's the multifamily statistics at 6.6%, a pretty strong vacancy as well, which is commensurate with the submarket that you're in. The overall county has a 5% multifamily vacancy. So this should indicate there is some demand, and we know there's demand intuitively for housing. Rents are commensurate again with vacancy. And then we summarize. As to retail sales, we did some specific analysis on that for you. Your retail sales are about $1 billion in Daly City, and what's interesting is the best way to look at it is though is divided by the population so that you know how you truly compare on a per capita basis. And so this is the picture of Daly City on a per capita retail sales basis. The trick to this is the scale gets skewed because of Brisbane, because I think that says there's 5,000 people, right, as population. The reality of it is if you look at how you compare to San Mateo County with 760,000 people, their retail sales per capita is about 16,000, 15.8 thousand per person. Your retail sales is at 10,000 per capita. And really, if you think that that's a little bit on the lower end, that just means, again, you've got a healthy retail market and that you could even capture more retail. Because I'll show you in a second, frankly, a lot of retail is going out of the city limits. And so I don't want to spend time on this because it's like a seeing eye chart, but there's a lot of really good data in here. It's broken down literally by the codes that define categories. Let me take you to this slide. So this, a little bit like our job slide, is kind of a job capture versus leakage slide. This shows us, are you capturing retail dollars or are you leaking retail dollars? Kind of like the jobs. And it shows that you are actually leaking retail dollars. Again, Brisbane, I think, is an anomaly, the way it's shown. But what you can tell is if the purple line is greater than the green bar, I should say, their cash registers are ringing within their city louder than the wallets of the citizens are spending, which means people are coming into their city to spend money. In the case of Burlingame, in the case of San Bruno to some degree, South San Francisco. But you can see in your case, some dollars are going out to other cities for shopping. And we broke that down by category. So anything in red are leaking dollars. I want to point out a few of those specifically. Health and personal care. It's an area within retail that remains healthy. You know, the pharmaceuticals and the drugstores, these are stores that have basic daily needs. And so there's some leaking dollars. And then also restaurants. Restaurants within the retail world today, we say food is retail because you can't eat or drink over the internet. And so, but you can buy electronics, you can buy shoes, you can buy books, much to the chagrin of those brick and mortar retailers. So when it comes to restaurants, the fact that some dollars are going out the door, to me, means that there's opportunity within your city boundaries to create some more restaurants and capture those dollars. Same with building materials. And then lastly, with motor parts and vehicles, I just point that out because at $220 million, there's a lot of motor vehicles and parts being purchased outside the city. That's about half of the total leakage or more than that. So it seems like there's opportunities for that to capture more dollars. There's some shopping centers we show as to where people are going. I mean, your Serramonte Center at 1 million square feet is a pretty significant attractor of retail shopping. And then, we show some of the other centers on a broader radius. And then I highlighted those specifics where there might be an opportunity for those areas to grow within retail to capture. Health and personal care, food, restaurants, building materials, and motor parts and vehicles. Okay, opportunity sites. The city's identified, and working closely with staff, identified several opportunity sites. And these are sites that you as a city may not own or control. You definitely you control some property in real estate. These may be third-party owned. If this is BART parking lots, if this is other parking lots or vacant restaurants, that you don't necessarily have control of, they can still be seen as opportunity sites. So I won't go through all of these, but the Mission Corridor is one opportunity site area, and we've done some strengths, challenges, and opportunities. And we've detailed all that out in terms of sizes. The other part of this presentation is this is your material, your market material, and your due diligence that you really can utilize with the marketplace. And so if you put this on your website, if you choose to do that, if you use this for the private sector to get keenly interested in opportunities, this is a way to show them a lot of information in a pretty succinct way. So the other site that we found was the Cow Palace, where there's really kind of it's a very, very large site at 40 acres all told. So there's ways to create a blend of uses there. There's some civic sites that are real close here to City Hall. Some of the parking lots I mentioned, these are the Samtrans lots near the Colma BART station. This is mislabeled. It shouldn't say Samtrans lot. Apologize for that. This is basically the BART station parking. And in both of these, the Colma and the BART station, frankly, this is about maybe an opportunity for transit-oriented development. And it's really also keeping some jobs and keeping some commuters and keeping some housing here in town, potentially, providing for those. This is a shopping center that we just identified that may not really be at its highest and best use. I drove by it today, so it might be able to use some revitalization. And then on Olympic Way, there are several parcels that comprise about 9 acres, and that's really close to the coast. One of the challenges, of course, is the Coastal Commission, but to the extent you can get through that, that's a real opportunity for folks who are looking to be very close to the coast in terms of the private sector or opportunities or uses. And then you have a vacant restaurant pad. The little I know is that Steak and Shake, I think, opened up a couple different restaurants. They closed. So I don't think this is a Daly City issue. I think this is a good opportunity to talk to some of the restaurant chains about. That's why we connect those dots. And so I don't know the status of this today, but part of these opportunity sites are now going to lead to, okay, what are our next steps and how do we implement? So implementation, we summarize all of our findings. We show you some economic development tools today in a post-redevelopment era, which are zoning strategies, digital strategies, sustainability in housing districts, which are also a significant tool, and then, of course, opportunity zones, which are sort of the latest and greatest of tools. That's a national program. The state of California has almost 880 opportunity zones. So next steps for implementation. Based on the feedback that we get, we can assist certainly with further economic development strategy implementation. Some of that can include marketing and taking some of those opportunity sites to introduce them to the private sector, if you will, collaboratively, developing lists of developers and businesses and brokers, and target some of that outreach for appropriate uses. Third bullet point, evaluation of financing and other economic development tools, sort of on a transactional basis. That's why I talk about special districts to help pay for infrastructure. And lastly, the city could consider hiring in-house an economic development staff person as an additional resource to help with the implementation of these economic development strategies. And here's just an example of some of the marketing flyers that we actually used in our outreach to the private sector to create those public-private transactional opportunities. And the partnering that we can continue to utilize on a marketing basis. And that's a wrap. Open for questions.
Thank you, Ken. Definitely up to date, relevant, and you got me on the steak and shake because I thought that would have slipped off the radar, but you're right. And, I think there may be some opportunity there, but I'm not going to be the one to talk. Does any of my colleagues have any comments? Councilmember Manalo.
Thank you. I really appreciate your presentation and giving us a snapshot of where we are at and looking at the viability of what we have in our city. I think it's extremely important to have your analysis, and I appreciate it. Most importantly, looking at the sectors that you mentioned and the areas around where we can build upon. I mentioned last year in our budget, one of our budget summaries was looking into hiring an economic development person, and really talking about that at that time, because we know that there is something that there are opportunities we can capture within our city. We're right next to San Francisco, on the way to Silicon Valley. And so although we are the largest population, I mean, seeing where we're at, we could do better, right? On that graph. Like it seems like we're not graded at an F when I look at it, but we can do much better. And seeing that it's around restaurants, health and personal care, many times there are young entrepreneurs that want to invest back into the city they were raised in, and seeing how we can provide opportunities for young entrepreneurs that want to give back, whether they're in the restaurant field, they're aspiring chefs. We have people also in the health kind of beauty industry that also are looking for locations. And when they come to me, I think what's important is how do we facilitate a way to help young business owners or entrepreneurs get access to what the opportunities are in their city of Daly City. And looking at the population, I mean, they're the ones that, that are going to bring forth that innovation, creativity. And so maybe that is something that can be done forward-looking. And like you said, I think we should put your presentation on our website. I think also many times people want to know what are the vacancy or where can they rent or find commercial space. And so I think it's just making all this information accessible so that people that do want to do business, it's easier for them to do business in Daly City. One thing I mentioned in the past, and it's not in your presentation, but I'm still looking into it and working with the city attorney and also city manager from last year, is initiating a small business commission. And with that, I think that's something important because you're taking in, small business owners or business owners that know actually how, they're doing business in Daly City. And these are also, community members that want to give back. And so that's something down the line that we'll foresee with my colleagues, with their support. And so for me, it's exciting to see this, because we do need to see ways for us to increase revenue in Daly City. I think there's definitely huge opportunities in those areas that are mentioned, and I'm excited to see what's down the line. In result of kind of hiring for an economic development person, I think that would be great, because then we have someone focused specifically on kind of this area that we need support in. And so thank you for your work. I know you've been working with the City of Daly City for a while now, and we look forward to continue to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Giovanni.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yeah, great presentation. It's exciting to see where we lag a little bit but yet not everything's like very low, but we have room to grow, and it's actually exciting, so I appreciate that. Does this include also like our city properties? Like one time I think there was a discussion about city surplus properties, and they're not considered opportunity sites, but then here again, it could be that they're just sitting there and we need to do something with them, right? I know currently we were working on some projects, so.
Right. Yeah. I think we addressed a couple of sites. They were former RDA sites, and then they were actually sold. And then the three that we've been focused on are really sort of in that process as we're going through with public-private transactions. So those, I think, were the key opportunities sites that the city or successor agency owned that have the most potential.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
And my other question is on the Cow Palace, because it's state property, we only have a certain part of that currently, correct?
Yes.
I mean, doesn't mean that something won't change in the future. I know that there's a subcommittee, and as well as everybody's hoping that legislation or something changes where we're able to gain access to revitalize that area for much needed long haul. But that's part of our goals, I guess.
Yeah.
And we currently have a mission to urban design that was never adopted by a prior council, and we had a charrette done a long time ago. I don't know where that plays in, but if you could take a look at it, or our ECD or our council would like to look at it to see how that works, that would be great too. I know it was never adopted. And I agree with Councilwoman Manalo that looking forward, it'll be great to have a small business commission possibly, and then that way people will know exactly, and an inventory online, correct me if I'm wrong, that they'll know which property to look at, because people do call and say, I'm on Mission Street, I want to have a business, hair salon, but I went there, do you know of any other places, because somebody just took it. So that way we won't lose them, like you said, to another city. So I appreciate it. Look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, sorry.
Okay, all right.
Thanks again for the presentation. It was well put together, very thorough. I think it really paints a picture about what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses, opportunities that we have in Daly City. Has there been any type of has there been any type of like discussion on like how can we bank on like the cultural diversity of Daly City? Because we look at the numbers, it's like 61% is like API population. Like I would really think about like maybe, I don't want to say modeling, but just knocking on the door in terms of dialogue of creating community cultural districts in Daly City. Because we have everything from Irish, Italian, Filipino, Chinese. And like I think that would be a way that I know in the South of Market neighborhood in Daly City, in San Francisco, they've been doing a lot of movement in terms of like what Councilmember Manalo said in terms of talking about the young entrepreneurs and really taking advantage of our community cultural wealth, because we're more than a transient city, you know, and that shows in terms of the retail numbers. And
it also shows in your housing stock you have more ownership. So I look at times, and less rentals, not a huge disparity, but that ownership, you know, I don't know how long historically those homes have been owned, but that also speaks to the cultural base of folks that have been here for a long time that have ownership. So.
Thank you, Ken. I'll make my last final comments, just of certain areas based upon what I've heard from my colleagues. I gather through your presentation, key opportunity. So I hope that this council, as we move forward, that we keep that in mind. And as Dr. Rod just made mention, in key opportunities, I'm thinking of development opportunities to include social and economic based upon our demographics in our city. I think that's something that we can add to the mix as we move forward. What I saw in your presentation was a quick example of an outreach flyer. I have never seen that before, only when we go out for our RFP. As Councilmember Manalo said, the magic words is transparency and accessibility. So if we can move forward to getting that information on our website so that anybody can go onto our website and see what's out there, I think that's it's a great step forward. We want to do something about those leaking dollars.
Yes.
But thank you. Excellent presentation. And it doesn't stop here, because I know we're going to go home and we're going to read more into this, and because you flipped through those slides. And it's not your fault. because what they say is less is more. You did the less, and now we want more. So I guarantee you. But thank you so much. Excellent presentation,
thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything from city manager? Did you feel free to make a comment? I mean,
Just briefly, I mean, the presentation was wonderful. I think also not only is it great as far as the opportunity sites, but just the demographics alone, just to have that on our website. I'll be sharing this with the executive team tomorrow because it has a lot of really great information. I think at one point the ECD coordinator position was eliminated because we didn't have a lot of development at the time and we had kind of an economic downturn. Now I think it only will cost the city by not having someone devoted to these efforts, including the Small Businesses Commission, having the website up to date, looking at that commission, maybe looking at cultural impacts on business. So I'm excited. So that's all.
thank you, Ms. Mulvey. Really appreciate your support, and with staff as well. Okay, next item on the, thanks again, Ken.
Thank you.
Next item is item number 2 under communications, appointment of director to the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency and Regional Finance Authority. And Ms. Maltby, you have the floor.
I have the floor. Thank you, Vice Mayor. So this is just really a formality. Councilmember Jessalyn Manalo was named to both of these boards in February 2017, and her current term expires June 30th, 2019. So the enabling acts for both agencies allow the City Council to reappoint its director of name, a new director at the end of the term. The mechanics of the appointment are straightforward, but require it must be at a public meeting, such as this one, must be made by action of the full City Council. The appointment does not need to be memorialized in a resolution, and a copy of the record of the council actions should be sent to BOSCA. So although the enabling acts allow that vacancies be made within 90 days from the end of the term, taking action now provides for continuous city representation effective July 1st, 2019, for a 4-year term ending June 30th, 2023. So in a nutshell, staff is asking for a nomination upon Councilmember Manalo's expiration date in June of this year.
Thank you, Ms. Maltby. Would anyone like to make the nomination? Councilwoman Di Giovanni.
If she'll take it. If she'll accept, I'd like to nominate Jessalyn Manalo to the BOSCA.
And I'll second it. You know, I was reading the agenda here, and I said all those words. And
I know.
I didn't know it was BOSCA. If you just take the initials of each. So, okay, so we have a first and second. We'll have to take a roll call, please.
Ms. Di Giovanni,
Aye.
Ms. Manalo,
Aye.
Mr. Dos Magbual,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester.
Aye. Okay, and the resolution passes. Would you like to say a few words, Council Member? Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I
Congratulations.
do want to say a few words. Thank you,
Okay.
Vice Mayor. I just want to say thank you to my colleagues for appointing me again for BOSCA. It's been a huge opportunity to be there, serving our community and representing for the city of Daly City, and also be a part of an agency that advocates to ensure that our water rates are adequate, and also that we are receiving best information around ensuring that we have water resources. And it's really created to become an advocacy platform for all of the different entities around the Bay Area to ensure that we have safe, clean water for all our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Manalo, and I like to add on to that too. I really appreciate our Daly City staff and its water department, wastewater and resources. Outstanding job. They're always testing that water, make sure that water is safe as well. So it all goes around. Oh, Mr. Picolotti. All right, great job, sir. All right, moving on. Awards of bids and contracts. Item number 3 is appropriate funds and award construction contract for the Westlake Elementary School Green Streets Improvement Project. And we have Mr. Chu.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Sylvester, members of the City Council. The Westlake Elementary Green Street Improvement Project is a very exciting project. This is a pilot project. This will be the first in Daly City in which we will be constructing pedestrian curb extensions along with green infrastructure. It'll have bioswales that will also be able to treat the stormwater. This is a very small project, but it does accomplish many things. It makes it much safer for the students to cross the street in terms of increasing their visibility. It does treat the stormwater, and then also involves constructions of fully compliant ADA curb ramps. This was a project in which we went out to receive grant funding for. We did get grant funding. This is a program that the San Mateo County Association of Governments and the San Mateo County Office of Education put together in regards to a safe route to school project that also incorporates treatment of stormwater. You've heard the green infrastructure plans and the discussions, and so this is going to be one of the early projects of many more to come in regards to being able to treat stormwater. This particular project, we did the design in-house. We put it out to bid, and end of last year, we were very successful in terms of getting bids. We actually got 6 bids, which is quite a bit for this project. The low bid is FBD Vanguard Construction of $199,762. The next bid is only $200 more. So looking at those two numbers, we did get very good bids for this particular project. In order to complete the project, an additional $25,000 of allocation is needed. If this project is approved, the work would begin in June and finish in August, right in the summertime. We coordinated with the school so that when school is out, they can do the construction and be finished before school opens. Staff is recommending that the City Council accept all bids. Award of construction contract to FBD Vanguard Construction in the sum of $199,762. Do the appropriation of additional $25,000 from Measure A funds, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract. Staff is also recommending that the City Council approve the design and then affirm the CEQA determination of categorical exemption. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Any colleagues, comments, questions?
I'll go after Mr. Joey.
I just want to say it is exciting to have this kind of new, exciting, and then safety is always a plus, but the bioswales, it's great for the school. I've heard that they're really excited. So thank you for your work in getting the grants. You always do that. Mr. Chu, we're very lucky to have you. And thank you that the children will be safer and more visible. That's a big plus on top of the design is very nice, and having it done in-house is even better. That's exciting. That shows the talent that we have here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I just want to say thank you for the innovation and really creativity upon which you're creating something that
was mentioned, safe for the children, but also teaching them that it's a teaching tool to say, hey, this is something that will save water, right, and be able to work for the environment. So keeping our students safe and also ensuring our environment and watching out for our future generations. So seeing that as a double is really great.
I concur with my fellow council members. I think it's great that students and youth, and we also update our innovation in terms of using green technology or updating ways to find green designs as a way to capture what you're all doing. So thank you.
Mr. Chu, a couple of comments I want to make mention. First of all, as Councilwoman Manalo alluded to about, what was it, Pam, design in-house?
Yes.
Using our skills so we didn't have to pay for that. So that's saying that we have skills in-house. That's number one. Number two, it's been a lot of talk about Daly City not having money and we're going bankrupt. And my point is that we always look for resources because they are out there, and that's in the area of grants, and you are taking advantage of that. You ought to be commended for moving forward in that regard. It could be for a school, or it could be even for Altaloma Park, which just was remodeled and renovated through the use of grants. I mean, it does not go unnoticed, and I want to commend you for that and your work that you continue to do. So thank you so much. We're looking forward to it, and we'll go ahead and take a vote as to should we move forward.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to accept the contract and for the Westlake Elementary School Green Streets Improvement Project.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. DiGiovanni,
Aye.
Ms. Manalo,
Aye.
Mr. Daly,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester.
Aye. Resolution passed.
Thank
you
you.
very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is on public appearances and oral communications. And as of this time, I have no cards from the audience. Does anyone want to speak? All right. Do we have one?
Yes.
Sir, let's get a card for you. I know who you are, but just a document that you came up. Ronnie, here. We got one over here, Ronnie. We just, you're right. Mr. Miller, how are you, sir?
As usual.
Okay.
I'm here because you're here. I just want to bring something for you to understand. I've lived here for 47 years in the same house on Alcessi Court. Every year, every single year, up until the last 5 years, the fire department would come out to the front of my house where there stands a, fire hydrant. And they test the fire hydrant to make sure that it was working. For the last 5 years, I haven't seen anybody come out and check to see if that fire hydrant was working. I also noticed that that fire hydrant was rusting away. So I called the fire department and I said, how come you don't come out here anymore and check the fire hydrant to make sure it's working? Every house on that block is a wood frame house. Every house in Daly City is a wood framed house. God forbid you have a fire and the fire hydrant doesn't work. What do? The fire department can't carry enough water over there. The fire hydrant is rusting away. Why don't you come out and paint it like you used to do? We don't have any money in our budget to do that, and we can't do it. Well, I'm asking you to get somebody and paint I painted the fire hydrant myself, and nobody likes the color, but that's another story. But the point of it I'm trying to bring out is, can somebody, and Pam, I asked you for a few minutes, get somebody out there. My God, those guys sit around the fire department. Let a few of them come out and test and see that that hydrant is working. And that if there is, God forbid, a fire hydrant on Old Ceci Court, I mean a fire in a house on Old Ceci Court, that it'll work and they can put the fire out. I'm not asking for anything that isn't reasonable. I think it is, not only is it not, it's reasonable, it's not going to cost anybody anything. But thank you for listening to me, and I'll continue to be here when you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Miller. And I'm sure you'll get a follow-up on this. So that's a promise. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. All right. Madam City Manager, do you have Mr. Miller's address? I do. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right. Is there any other cards? Being that there isn't any, request a motion to close the public communications at this time? No? Okay, good enough. All right, next item on the agenda is appointments. Do we have any appointments by any of the council members this evening? Councilmember Di Giovanni.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. At this time, I'd like to appoint for library trustee the current president of the Bayshore School Board, Teresa Tusito Fapua. She's also a member of the Pacific Islander community. She's a volunteer at our food bank, and she does great volunteer work out at our Jefferson High School, giving out food, and a great member of our community. So I look forward to her serving. Thank you very much.
Second.
All right, so we have a first and a second. Before we go into voting, is there any discussion? Okay, I would like to make a comment. Will she be submitting an application?
Yes, she will.
Okay.
She was going to do one earlier, but she's sick right now.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Di Giovanni. Is there any further discussion on this appointment? All right, will all those in favor say aye? We can do, okay. All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you to my
Any
colleagues.
more Councilmember Di Giovanni at this time?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to reports. Council committee reports between January 28th through February 11th. Councilmember Manalo.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We had a council water committee consisting of myself and Council Member Pamela Di Giovanni with our city staff, Shana Maltby, City Attorney Rose Zimmerman, Director Tom Piccoletti, and Mr. Joshua Cosgrove around concerning some issues on the Vista Grande drainage basin project update, and also we talked about some sanitation rates and stormwater fees, as well as the San Mateo County Flood and Sea Level Resiliency Agency. This was very informative. I thank the staff for a very thorough meeting agenda. For those of you that don't know, there is a very large project called the Vista Grande Drainage Basin Project. And it's a project at this point, it's close to completion with its design, almost there. It's almost there. But it's a project that really is one of its kind, and many other agencies are also looking at this extensive project, see it come to its fruition. And so there will be more updates down the line as far as that project, as well as looking at our sanitation rates and stormwater fees, and we will keep you apprised. Is there anything else, Ms. Di Giovanni?
No, I appreciate that. That's great.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Manalo. Anyone else for any reports?
Vice Mayor, ma'am?
Do you have, yes, sure.
You were my predecessor on this one.
Let me see.
I attended my very first SFO roundtable. My predecessor was, actually, he's very well known at the SFO roundtable, I found out, and loved. So I was very humbled to take his seat over there and hope he'll come visit us together. And this seems to be one of the biggest issues in our Daly City. I sat with Council Member Terry O'Connell from Brisbane, as we know that we share a commonality in Daly City, especially in the southern part of our Daly City. It seems to be an issue with the departure. So there, Terry O'Connell of Brisbane has suggested to the SFO Roundtable that we form an ad hoc, and that way our North County can come together with South San Francisco, Brisbane, San Bruno, and us, because that way we can focus on our issue. Because the FAA did attend this meeting, and due to the administration in Washington, D.C., we were unable to get satisfactory answers that they have been pushing. So this consists of all the representations in our 40-some cities, plus other executives, and they push pretty hard on this. And I will be learning more, and we'll be talking to my predecessor, because from what I understand, he has great knowledge and was a big advocate for us in Daly City, as well as Brisbane and our North County, and I do appreciate that. So it's going to be hard to fill in his shoes, but I look forward to working and getting the information and advocating for our Daly City residents. And if anybody has any issues, and I've already heard that helicopters are flying over near the Crocker neighborhood, so up too low on departure. So please contact me, and I'll be bringing it forth. It's a public meeting. It's held on I believe, the first Wednesday of the month in the Chakotay Room in Millbrae. I'll give you the address down at the next council meeting. And people do come from everywhere, Burlingame and other places. So we do listen and we do advocate. So we're pretty tough. So thank you very much, and it's an honor to serve on it. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilwoman DiGiovanni, I have to commend you because that was a tough one. And my predecessor was Mayor Ray Buenaventura. But, you know, it's very tough, and it's very, very important that we do have someone who attends that committee meeting, because airport noise is an issue. If I recall, Mr. Miller in the audience, if we ever establish a citizens advisory committee, he wanted to be on that committee. I haven't forgotten. So, you know, I'm glad you're there.
Thank you.
And as a matter of fact, as we speak about committees, remember the words I said earlier, transparency and accessibility? Well, in the area of transparency, I've asked that all the committees us council members serve on to be posted so that the whole entire community knows. So if you have an issue about a certain, like say water, you would find that it would be Council Member Manalo dealing with water. If you talk about clean energy, you can find out who's your representative for clean energy, who's representing Daly City, and the list goes on. So I think that's very important information. That information will be forthcoming. All right, any further committees? Dr. Rod.
Yeah, so on January 28th, myself and Mayor Buenaventura, we attended the Bayshore Revitalization and Cow Palace committee meeting, and we were looking at in terms of potential developments in the Bayshore, from affordable housing, possible commercial development, and also looking forward to creating partnerships with Cow Palace Board, the SUFI, I think that's how you do it. SAIUFI. Sci-fi, oh my gosh. SAIUFI ownerships to see how we can revitalize that area. So that's about it.
Okay, great job. Any other committee reports? All right, I have none for this past 2 weeks. Okay, here's a big one here. City Council reports. Now, I've been gone for about a week, but I've definitely been tracking all of you, and I see what you folks been doing, so come on, let's let it out and tell the community. Who wants to start first?
Councilwoman Manalo.
Councilmember Manalo.
Okay. I'll start. I just want to say, for those of you in the audience and watching, there's going to be an event on February 23rd sponsored by the Jefferson PTA Council, and it's really such an amazing book called Journey for Justice, The Life of Larry Itliong by Dr. Don Bamalon and Gail Ramasanta, illustrated by Andre Simbayan, and really talks about the history of Larry Itliong, really a heroic figure in the strike, Delano strike, and really sharing that history with younger people. So this book is pretty amazing. I wish I had it with me. It's actually at home with my child's library book collection now, but it's really inviting all the young people, young and old as well, to come learn about this book. The authors will be there. I mean, the author's husband will be there, but in memoriam of Dr. Mabalon. But it's really, they're doing an amazing feat. They're going up and down the coast of California. Mm-hmm. They just started it off in Delano, where it all started. And so because we have a large Asian Pacific American Filipino community here, it's important to share that history. And so it's on Saturday, February 23rd. It will be at Ceremony Del Rey from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so hope to see everyone there. That's open to the public. Also, I had just a brief meeting and was able to join Mayor Vita Ventura and also Supervisor David Canepa to talk and meet with potentially the new owners of, or the lead stocking horse for Seton Medical Hospital. And so we just met with the owners to hear about their past history and what they've done in the past. The following day, there is a bi-county Seton work group that I attended and am a part of. It consists of different entities from both San Francisco and also San Mateo County, and just ensuring that we retain and keep Seton Hospital. And so that was last Friday. Last but not least, I want to say Happy Lunar New Year to everyone, and also Happy Valentine's Day. So that's why I wore red. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Manalo. Any other reports? Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Well, I think that we were all three, minus our vice mayor and mayor, we attended something really exciting. Our supervisor, David Canepa, got funds from a Measure K for the county, and we now have a new floor at our Lincoln Center for our seniors, so they can do their cha-cha-cha and all their fun activities. So they had a celebration of Chinese New Year. We had a ribbon cutting. They were having a good time on the floor, and it's a lot of positive things that are happening. And our colleagues here, Councilwoman Manalo and my council member Rod Bagubal. I got it, Doss. And we all attended and had a great time to see the seniors so happy and so appreciative that they know that we care. They put a fresh coat of paint. The members in our community are workers, so it looks really nice in there and very, very fresh. Also, we had the Chinese New Year celebration at the Ceremony Mall on this past weekend, and they did a dance of the lions, and I actually was educated enough to learn that the lions after ward off evil. So I was able to attend. I'm very humbled that they asked me to stand between the two lions at the end to ward off that evil, whatever it may be. And so it's very humbling. It's nice to see the children in the community's faces, of all faces, enjoying and learning, because they would actually explain everything to the community about the Chinese New Year, the Year of the Pig, and the significance of it, so that we can all come together as as one big community. And then also this will be Black History Month, February 16th. This coming, I think it's on a Sunday at 12 noon at our Dolger Center. We'll be having dancing, I believe gospel, food with Keith with the waffles and chicken, and a big celebration of Black History Month. So I'd like to invite everyone to come down. It's a free event other than the food, and a big celebration that we all come together, and another learning of one another so we can come together. So I think it's really important. So, and then we had a rock and roll event on our Pacelli Gym, and lovely to see our city manager, our city attorney, and our Tatum, and Mr. Piccolotti. It was really actually exciting to see staff. We came, and it was a very well-attended event. And that was at our Pacelli Gym on Sunday, and it was memorabilia, I believe, some young rock and rollers, and plus more. Then they had vendors, and hopefully it'll resonate into revenue as well as a good time, because it was good. So we'll be able to hear the numbers. I look forward to that, and the city manager hopefully will give us the big numbers. I think some of it goes to a scholarship, I believe, city manager, or something like that. She's going to give us the update. Hopefully, maybe she can give us the update. So that was exciting. So great things are happening. We know we have a lot of work ahead of us, and we're going to work together. We know we have issues, but I think that a lot of positive things are happening now. So we got to keep the momentum going. I'd like to thank my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman DiGiovanni.
Yeah, I had the honor to attend the I guess the trustees and commissioners
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
on Robert's Rules of Order,
Yeah,
conducted
good
by
too.
our city attorney,
Yeah, that was
Rose, and attended by also Shauna, our city manager. You could just feel the energy, amongst all the trustees and the commissioners, and
Okay, that was good.
I was telling folks before, I was like, I wish we had this. I know, yeah. But you could feel the energy, the inertia. You could feel the momentum of people that really care and they want to do things for Daly City and the ideas that they do have. So I just want to say thank you to the staff for putting it together, and it was just wonderful to see everybody in one room and have the energy, the excitement, the creativity, and the ideas that people want to bring forth in the upcoming year in the future of Daly City. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dasmag Boal. Councilmember DiGiovanni, I got a question for you. Did the lion dance, did they throw out candies?
Yes, they did. That's
get
very
it?
important.
Okay, that's
So
right.
They told me to stand still between the two lions, and then when they went for the child,
Okay.
Marie Lizette's little boy you throw the lettuce
Oh, yeah.
to the lion. So then you move, and then they throw the candy. It's really exciting. It was great.
Very good. You're
Thank you.
learning. Different
learning.
cultures. Thank you for sharing
Very
that.
important.
That's good to know. And this is probably a little bit off topic, but for you old folks like me,
Oh, good.
at one of our places in Daly City is Shuggies.
Oh yeah, Delphonics, right?
You're not as old as me.
Yes.
The Delphonics will be coming. That's correct. And I'm looking forward to seeing that.
When?
It's coming. I forgot what day, but I'm getting my tickets.
And then I don't know if for those that are my age, that song Did Not Blow Your Mind This Time.
Okay,
Didn't
okay.
I? It's going to be at 22 Hillcrest Drive, 22 Hillcrest on Valentine's Day evening, beginning at 8 p.m. at Shug's Event Center. Thank you for that. She'll be happy to see you.
Thank you, Councilmember DiGiovanni.
Oh, my God, Delphonics.
All right, we're having fun up here. Okay. Any other reports for City Council? Oh,
I have one last.
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
Councilmember.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. One other item is I'm speaking with one of the residents and small business owners in Daly City, and he's continuing to look at working on having an event around the top of the hill area for a urban street festival. So that's still
good.
coming down the line sometime in spring or so. And so just wanted to let everyone know that may be down the pipeline of another event that we can all celebrate together. Looking towards where it doesn't rain. I think we're very blessed this season with a lot of rain, and so looking towards some time where weather will permit. But that's something exciting down the line.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Manalo. You know, this is very important, just to reiterate to the community out there, City Hall is your City Hall. And if you have any ideas and thoughts, and, you know, especially in the area of arts, culture, diversity, we're all ears. And we're definitely going to show how Daly City react with each other and how we get along, and looking forward to it. We've got a great council here. Okay, any reports from staff? Ms. Mulvey?
Just really quickly, I believe that the Black History Month celebration is actually Saturday,
Sorry about that. Thank you.
from 12 to 3 at Dolger. So, and I also agree with Councilmember Das McBall that the commissioner training was a lot of fun, and Rose did a great job making the Roberts Rule of Order interesting, which is not easy to do. So that's all for me.
Great. Did all the commissioners get a pin, like I gave them all pins?
You know what? They will.
I see
They
you
got a lot of
wearing yours.
donuts and
Okay.
cake. It was one of our commissioners' birthday, but I agree. It was, the energy was really great. So.
Yeah.
Right. I even gave them a book each that I bought.
Someone wants a book.
Oh, oh, it did? So that tells me they've been talking amongst themselves. Huh? See what I started? Oh, that's great. Everything's good. And as Dr. Rod Dasmagbual said, I can feel the energy on this council, and it's good. Okay, the next is adjournment. I have Councilmember DiGiovanni have a couples for the city manager, and we'll take note of it because it came in late. However, I'd like to start off with, was it Christy Maloney?
Yes.
Does anybody want to
Maloney.
speak to that?
Just that it's a tragedy that that young lady, she was the one that was found. She was a Daly City resident, and that very young, and our Daly City police were probably, I don't know how the circumstances, but to remember her is very important. So I appreciate that you guys did that.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. Apparently, her belongings, wallet and phone was found on the Muni bus. And something was out of the ordinary in that she left her dog. And, you know, that was very suspicious. But it later turned up that they finally located her and she was found in the bay. But very tragic and sad indeed. Okay, we have two other adjournments, and I'll turn it over to Council Member DiGiovanni. Ma'am?
Thank you, and I apologize that these came in late, but sometimes it's, the people don't know. So please, in memoriam of Segundina Yanko, she's the mother of Manny Yanko and the mother-in-law of Lucy Yanko. And then there's Dr. Estella B. Mangubat, and she is the Daly City resident. It's the mother of her, Liza Mangubat. So thank you for allowing their names to be, and I will have the contact information for our city manager to make sure that the letters go out. Thank you very much, to adjourn in their memory.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is there any other adjourned memories? All right, if we can pause for a brief moment of silence, please. Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned.